Some people might say that this is the reason why Bitcoin broke under $30,000 recently, but in reality, this is just the range that we're in right now because we are still in an accumulation phase before the fun starts. So are you dollar cost averaging? But let's get into today's video. The reason why some people might think Bitcoin is crashing is because it seems like the SEC is now signaling that they will want to appeal this recent court case against Ripple where they lost, technically. The judge in this case has ruled that only half, roughly half of all of the sales of XRP were done as unregistered securities. Now, of course, the SEC would have preferred that the judge ruled that all purchases of XRP is done as unregistered securities because they want that coin itself to be labeled a security. And Ripple wasn't properly playing by the SEC's game, even though at the time when Ripple was first making their initial sales, the SEC had no idea what cryptocurrency was, let's be honest. But what we're talking about here is a push and pull between the cryptocurrency space and the regulators in the United States. They are failing time and again to provide any clarity on specifics of how regulations can be addressing cryptocurrencies specifically. So this court case did rule that around $750 million worth of XRP sales were done as unregistered securities. That was between Ripple Labs and institutional investors. So that amount might need to be repaid in some form or another from Ripple Labs, probably towards the SEC to line their pockets so they can afford to take on cases against other cryptocurrency projects. But what happened here ultimately is that the SEC lost. That means that they not only had their own court case costs and their own legal teams to pay off, they also had to pay for the costs from Ripple Labs to defend themselves to the tune of approximately $200 million, might be more, might be less, about that amount of money. And that is coming from taxpayers. So now that the SEC is again hinting that they will want to appeal, saying that they disagree with this ultimate conclusion made by this judge, is that they're number one saying, yes, we're happy to pay $200 million worth of taxpayers' money on this one instance of a project, in addition to initiating a whole other court case, which, by the way, if they do go through with an appeal, will take another couple years before any conclusion comes from that new court case. So basically, this is kind of non-news if they are appealing, because it's not going to cause any kind of a change or action from Ripple Labs or punishment if they were to lose. And if Ripple were to win again, then that means that the SEC is wasting millions and millions more, hundreds of millions more of taxpayer money, because they have one guy in the SEC has a stick up his butt in terms of cryptocurrencies being securities. Additionally, if they were to appeal and find that they win, then that means basically what they're arguing is that any sale of any cryptocurrency that they arbitrarily label as a security, if it's done on an exchange between peer-to-peer transactions from one person to another, then that is an unregulated activity and deems punishment. So usually the Howey test, they say that the sale of a contract, an investment contract that benefits the company that is building the product, so in this case Ripple Labs, any sale that's direct to Ripple Labs would benefit Ripple Labs, right? So if I'm just trading XRP against some other stranger on the other side of the planet, how does Ripple Labs directly benefit from that? How is that funding Ripple Labs to help them build what they're building? It doesn't. So there is a whole lot of wiggle room and a whole lot of nuances of how securities laws can be applied and will be applied to cryptocurrencies in the US. Now remember, this is one single country, and cryptocurrency is global. And there's different countries around the world that have different laws for securities. So this is just another instance of the US, again, just flaming the fire of crypto, leaving that country in search of greener pastures, which do indeed exist outside of the US jurisdiction. So just so you know that. Thank goodness, right? That's gonna wrap it up for today. Again, dollar cost average, and keep an eye out on the regulators. And remember, they're not always looking out for your best interest. Sometimes they have blinders on and they're trying to serve themselves. Usually that's what's happening. Anyway, like and subscribe. See you tomorrow.